can start the meeting.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to COVID-19. This meeting is held electronically under Bylaw 2020-70 to amend Procedural Bylaw 2018-117 pursuant to Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. The mayor sends her regrets. I call the council in committee meeting to order. As per bylaw 2018-119, Councillor Carl Bromwich is the appointed member of council, authorized to act in the place of the head of council in the absence of the mayor, with authority under section 18.3.2 of the procedural bylaw to chair this council and committee meeting.
Thank you, Sue. I will now read the First Nations land acknowledgement. As we gather today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting in the traditional territory of Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. I would ask now, is there any amendments to the agenda? Well, you're muted, Sue.
Apologies. Yes, I would like to include the amendment. I will include a letter from the Barry's Bay Minor Hockey President and a letter from the Treasurer, Mark Leclerc. That will be attached as an addendum after the meeting to 10.1.3. They were received after the agenda was published and will be addressed during the recreation portion under that report.
Thank you very much. I need a mover and seconder to approve the council and committee meeting agenda for Tuesday, September the 6th as amended. Can I have a mover, please? Ernie Poplinski, seconded by Mark Wilmer. Any discussion? All in favor? And that is adopted. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the council?
None here.
I see none. Thank you very much. There are no delegations, I believe, today. We will now go into the council and committee portion of the agenda. And as chair of roads and operations waste management, I'm going to ask for operations update August 2022 from Mike, if you wouldn't mind just addressing us here, Mike.
Absolutely, Carl.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bit of an exciting update here. We got a few big things on the go. Both of our paving, our big tenders, paving and surface treatment, are on the go right now, and everything's going well. That gravel application, everything's going down. Should be everything's on schedule. Should be finishing up by the end of September if all goes well. A couple other tenders out right now. Winter sand, our crushed gravel tender was done, but they haven't started. And of course, our sidewalk plow, which has been awarded and scheduled to be delivered in December. So hopefully we still have the old one, but hopefully we don't get too much snow before the new one comes. But anyway, and then also some big news on our successful acquisition of a used Kenworth compactor truck for the Bark Lake. We've been looking for one for months. Since the spring, we've had one of our curbside units there to get us through, but we finally were able to source one and put a bid in, and we're successful. So we have that truck coming from BLR, and we were substantially under budget, which is always good too. And I think it's a good unit. Doesn't look like it's going to need any work to be put into service, so that's always a good thing. Other than that, everything is just maintenance, usual items, bringing things in for the winter, and in the parks, everything else is going along smoothly. So if there's any questions, I'll take them. If not,
Is there any questions? Up to you, Ernie. And you're muted, Ernie.
How are we doing now?
There we go.
Okay, we're okay. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Question regarding the parks, Mike.
Yep.
Have all of the work on the Barry's Bay dock, has that been completed?
Yes, the Barry's Bay Wharf is completed and was in service all summer when it worked excellently.
And when do we anticipate having the one done in Cumbermere?
So it'll be pulled out after Thanksgiving, and this is the first time because it usually stays in. So we're gonna have to really do some assessing because we've never really seen what's underneath that one as it's been in the water for stays in the water over the winter. So we'll pull it out after Thanksgiving weekend and have to assess it, and the work will begin right away over the winter and as we have time.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any further questions, council? We can just accept this as information. Thank you, Mike. Maybe we won't have any snow this winter and we'll save a lot of money, eh?
We won't count on it.
We can only wish. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll see that as information. 7.1.2, which is the screen winter sand. We have a recommendation. I'd like maybe somebody want to speak to that, or would you just like to go right to the recommendation, Sue?
I'm not sure if the operations manager wanted to speak to it.
You want to say anything on that, Hillary?
Through you, Chair. Good morning. It's self-explanatory. Good pricing. It's right on schedule and under budget. It's good to go.
Good. Could you read the
Thank you.
recommendation? Thank you.
Through the chair, resolution that council recommend to approve the lowest tender MV 2022-12 supply, delivery and stacking winter sand by RGT Cloutier Construction Ltd. Limited in the amount of $84,981.65 HST included, subject to requirements of the contract, and that it be applied against account 150814 785084 activity 185 sanding and salting.
And could I have a mover, please? And to you, Mark. And secondly, Council Schulz. Any further discussion on this? I see none. Would you please vote on that? All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. 7.1.2 or 7.1.3 tender construction demolition grinding Bark Lake waste site. We have a comment on that. Or do you want to talk about that, Hillary? Or?
2022-13, I believe it's coming to the end for these tenders for this year. There might be one more. It came under budget, and it's right. We're right on track. Fall grinding, and it's national grinding, the only tender.
Okay. Would maybe you read the recommendation, Sue, if you wouldn't mind?
Yes, that council recommend to approve the lowest tender MV 2022-13 construction demolition grinding by National Grinding Incorporated in the amount of $24,012.50 HST included, subject to requirements of the contract, and that it be applied against account 1, 5, 12, 17, 70, 40, 31 waste disposal C&D grinding.
And could I have a mover for that, please? And Mark Wilmer, seconded by Ernie Poplinski. Any further discussion on this? All in favor? Oh, sorry, Mark, would you like to say something?
Just a comment. I just wanted to say to Hillary and the staff that it's nice to see both of these coming on budget or under budget, particularly in these days with inflation and with supply shortages. So it's a really positive thing. So thank you for getting these done.
Thank you.
Good work, gentlemen. Good work indeed. Okay, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. There is no correspondence or information and no unfinished business. So I'd like to pass the chair over to Councillor Schulz. Would you take us away under wastewater?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we have under municipal reports 8.1.1, Ontario Clean Water Agency expenditures. Now, on the report here, I have Gwen's name here, but Gwen, are you going to speak on this matter, or is it going to be Ashley or Kaylee?
It'll be Ashley or Kaylee, and I think Sue had done the report and just forgot to put her name on it.
Oh, okay. So Ashley, you want to take it?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for
Morning,
having
Ashley.
us today.
Hello.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
No problem.
Okay, perfect. So in front of you, you have our financial report for the first portion of this year, of course. So just to give you a highlight of just the major maintenance or some of the expenditures we've had, and we replaced the carbon odor control canisters at the sewage treatment plant due to we've had a few odor complaints in the recent months in the warm weather. We had to replace the rad in the emergency genset. I did also attach the other two quotes in for your information, which were substantially north of the price that you're seeing in front of you. And then that's it for the wastewater plant. Water plant, we did the water main tie-in at Yantha Crescent, just needed another valve to connect the loop properly. There was a communication loss between the PLC and the SCADA system that was rectified by Capital Controls. Another valve was replaced at Stafford Street, and we purchased a shop vac to, I don't know if anybody's ever seen this. It's kind of kind of funny to watch, but we use a shop vac to remove all the debris out of the valve boxes in the road. So it's a lot cheaper than having a vac truck come all the time whenever we need to access them. So over the winter and stuff, they get full of sand and they're always full, but the shop vac does work well for the size of it. So that wraps up this one. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from council? I see our CEO, Madam CEO.
Yes, I had a question on behalf of the mayor after reviewing the report. She just was seeking clarification. Page 26 of the agenda, work order 2724456. I was just asking about the administration fee, if we could speak to that progressive amount, 15% and 10% administration fee.
Yeah, certainly, Sue. The 15% is all through the contract, of course, on anything below 10,000 or up into 10. So anything above the 10 then goes down to 10% between 10,000 and 50,000. And then anything beyond 50 would go down to 5%. So is that clear as mud for everyone?
I do believe Amanda had pull the extract from the contract as well, the excerpt, I mean, from the contract. Is that correct, Amanda?
Come on. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So it was a discussion topic during the contract negotiations with Aqua. And I know that we've discussed this before in other contract renewals. You know, it would be a matter of our own staff sourcing the materials and trying to get some of the more delicate or how would you say, like materials that you can't exactly find around here. So I believe the discussion has always been, you know, that council would like us to source the materials, but then when we actually get to it, can be more difficult for us to get those prices that Aqua is able to get for us and to get those materials for us that we need and on time when they need it. So that's why we've always had this portion within the Aqua contract. But it was part of the discussion previously when we renewed the contract.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Okay, that takes care of Madam CEO. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. So getting back to this administration fee, someone has to do it, I take it. So if it's not Aqua, then it's Township, and we would have to pay our employees then to spend time doing that as well. Would be the alternative? Is that my understanding?
Yes, so some municipalities have an actually purchasing officer that's part of their staff. So that would be something that we would have to work into a staff employee contract or to look at those purchasing policies and trying to buy these materials that are required So if that's something that council wishes to look at, how we could do that through the operations department, certainly it's something that we could, for the next contract renewal, discuss that with staff.
Okay. Councillor Perplinski.
Yeah, that would be my, thank you, Mr. Chair. That would be my, I think, where we should be going with this, just sort of keep track of, it is something we can do in-house then, but at the same time, I do appreciate the benefit of having ACWA do it because, so in the meantime, I think we'll carry on but keep that in mind before budget time is if there was another alternative. Thank you.
Okay, Madam CEO.
Yes, thank you. I'll just ask Ashley if Aqua can put that kind of as a placeholder when we're doing the contract reviews with the new council, just as an area that we'll be discussing. That would be great.
Of course.
All right. Any other comments from council? Not seeing any. Madam CEO, could you read the recommendations? It looks like there's some money being spent here, so we need to have some approval here. Thank you.
Thank you through the chair. That council approved the Ontario Clean Water Agency expenditures as presented, totaling $24,598.94, which is the breakdown of the WPCP 20,823.30 and the WTP water treatment plant of $3,775.64.
I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Wilmer moves it, seconded by Councillor Brumwich. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, that is carried. So the next one here on pages 35 to 46, 8.1.2, performance report for the Barry's Bay drinking water system and the Barry's Bay waste water treatment plant, second quarter, April 2022 to June 2022. Ashley, you're going to take care of this too?
I'm going to let Kaylee take the reins here on the first half and I'll take over at the end.
Take it over, Kaylee.
Thank you. So reviewing our report from Q2, you'll notice that we have met our compliance targets for our water treatment plant in both quarters 1 and 2. No health and safety incidents, and our operational excellence continued with our flow below 80% capacity. Moving into wastewater, you'll notice that there are 2 yellow triangles for results in range but not yet achieved, and this speaks to our operations department with our objective being met or exceeded. So it's important to note this is not reportable. It's just something in-house that we're working towards to improve our effluent at our sewage treatment plant. Also, no health and safety incidents to report on this side, and our wastewater flows within 80% capacity. Moving down to the compliance targets, we had no ECA limit exceedances or AWQIs to report. We had 1 MECP, so our ministry inspection was announced this year, and that occurred on July 11th. So I'm still waiting on results from our inspector, though no news is good news. So it looks like we're going to have a good report for that facility. Again, no health and safety issues to report. If you review our drinking water flows and wastewater treatment flows, you'll see our municipal drinking water license limit and our ECA limit and their thresholds that we are meeting. So we're well below 80% capacity. So there's no reviews to be conducted for those facilities performance-wise. Into asset protection, we had 61 preventative work orders completed at the water treatment plant and 47 completed at the wastewater treatment plant, 30 operational at the water plant and 13 at the wastewater treatment plant. Diving into those a little bit, we are performing flow testing on fire hydrants. You may have noticed our crews out and about around St. Francis Memorial Hospital. We also performed an EQ tank cleaning, and this is of course to get back into our operational objectives and improve performance. And we had done some biosolids hauling. Of course, that's semi-annual maintenance, so that'll be expected again this fall. Into the distribution and collection side of things, we were doing some valve exercising. We've had some service line repairs. A hydrant maintenance was performed on Opeongo line at hydrant 50. We've had 5 community complaints, 4 related to color water and 1 with a sewer blockage. And in this case, regular maintenance occurred where the hydrants were flushed to remove the color, or we had confirmed that the flow in the trunk line was, confirmed that the trunk line was clear and it was an issue that had to be further investigated with plumbers. And that's all I have on my side of things. So Ashley is good to take over.
Ashley, do you have anything to say on this matter? I think this is a great report. Thank you very much, Kaylee. All good. There is a recommendation here on this report. If we could, first of all, I'd like to see if there's any questions from council members on this report. Seeing none, Madam CEO, could you please read the recommendation?
Thank you through the chair that the performance report for the Barry's Bay drinking water system and the Barry's Bay wastewater treatment plant, second quarter, April 2022 to June 2022, is approved as presented.
All right, mover, please. Councillor Brumwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, correspondence information, I don't see any. Unfinished business, is there anything else, Madam CEO? Yes?
Just a comment, wanted to thank Aqua. We have been continually trying to refine the CGIS. If you recall, the digitized mapping of the water and wastewater infrastructure is now in place, and staff and Aqua have been trained on it. Aqua and municipal staff continue to input the service requests and the maintenance as we are doing it. And I think we're all getting a bit more familiar with the system. And I expect that at year end, we'll be able to provide council with a report that you'll see is very similar to what we started adding in August to the bylaw report. And those come directly out of the CGIS. Which is our mapping that we're logging our work and service requests from. So thank you, Ashley, to you and your staff, as well as I know our deputy treasurer has been working to input as well.
Exactly, yes. Thank you very much. I think this is going to be a great tool, and hopefully it helps your department. I'm sure it will. I want to take an opportunity here to thank Ashley and Kaylee for doing an excellent job keeping our water safe. So thank you very much. Okay, that is my portion of the committee's meetings. So back to you, Mr. Chair. You are muted, sir.
I'll ask Councillor Kaplinski to chair the next portion of the meeting, which is fire and protection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have fire and protection. I'm just wondering, do we have the chief with us? I don't see him. I assume he's there.
I'm here, Chair Pavlinski.
Yes, we do.
Oh, there we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I noticed that we've got the activities, but you have a report actually just before that in the agenda, and I'm just wondering, it touches on many of the subjects that you're dealing with, and I'm just wondering if we could start off with that report, and then we can get into the actual activities themselves. And there may be some questions or follow up from that. So if you could proceed with your report.
Okay, the first thing on the report is maintenance and repairs. The 2012 pumper for the South Hallsman safety. They had no issues with that truck. Next is a meeting with the fire marshal's advisor. I met two of the fire marshal's advisors early in mid-August to go over the certification of the fire department and read training records, equipment, and everything else. We received an excellent report from them. They said we're top notch. Our equipment's in great shape. The training's being followed perfectly. So far, right to the core of the way it should have been before the certification. The thing is, we have 22 of the firefighters that are actually certified for the fire department, are certified. So I give that a big step. We have 9 that are eligible for the legacy program, which make them qualified but not certified, which is a part of it. and 2 that'll have to actually go and get the very first of the basic firefighter training to be a firefighter. The next thing is part of that also with the course certification. We will require a safety officer, which you already have. A level 2 inspector will be required for a fire department. A fire prevention officer, which we're working on right now. A fire investigator will have to be also assigned to the fire department, which can be also outsourced. And a training officer. This can be either done through our internal or in a contract through another fire department. Another thing that came up now just in the last couple of weeks was before we used to get an assistant fire marshal card for officers for the fire department, which allowed you to do an entry onto property during an emergency for an investigation. By just the fire chief giving a certificate go ahead. That is now changed to a 3-hour course. Every person that wants to be an assistant fire marshal must complete a 3-hour course online and then be certified through the fire marshal's office to have those authorities, the authority to do enter properties without a warrant, which is very rare. We only have to do that. With the fire, like I said, there's the next thing then is with the requirements coming up with the fire marshal starting at 2023 for certification. The fire chief jobs will become more and more stringent. It's going to become more and more hours on it due to the paperwork, the training that's going to be required to hand in the fire marshal's office. Everything is going to become more of a full-time job. It's going to be pretty much a full-time job. Other departments, similar to the same size that our township has, hired full-time fire chiefs. So that'll be something for the 2023 possible budget to look at. Then we were asked quite some time ago to come up with the cost savings with having a volunteer department compared to a composite and a volunteer fire department. If we were to have a composite fire department with 16 firefighters, wages alone would cost $1.8 million, and have a full-time fire department, it costs us $4.5 million in wages alone. Our current fire department spends about $62,000 a year to pay the firefighters. So it's a significant savings to taxpayers on which way the fire department works with council. We're very fortunate to have the firefighters and the dedication they've had over the years. And this to emphasize, ensure everybody knows we aren't looking at having a full-time fire department or a composite department. There's just to show the savings and actually what how much these men and women give up over the years for the community. In over the past 6 years, with the way we've done with the trucks, buying used equipment, that's good used equipment over the last extended years, we managed to be able to save $515,000 of taxpayers' money by buying like a demo truck, retrofitting the fire truck, taking the electronics off their new pumper, going with the more manual, just because we don't need it all the time. So we managed to be able to save that over the last 6 years between us and the councils. And then it's our fire call breakdown. We're up to 64 calls this year, which is on average calls for service. It keeps going like that, probably up about 80 by the time the year's end. That's the end of the fire report.
Yeah, there may be some comments or questions. I've got a couple, Chief, if you could just give me a little bit of clarity here. You mentioned the core services, and you mentioned that in order to be compliant, we have to purchase some equipment to stabilizers, struts, air mats. So are you suggesting right now we're not compliant because of that?
We're compliant. It's just to say to make sure we're covered on everything, to fill out the whole 9 yards, because we do our own extrication now. They're suggesting that we get the struts which hold us the vehicle and stabilize it right now. If it's on its side or if it's on its roof, we should have stabilizing struts. And they're saying the air mats, if somebody's ever trapped under a vehicle, that suggests that we have that to finish that off. So when you lift the air mats, it brings the vehicle up real slow, takes the pressure off, so we can extricate somebody very carefully and safely with the paramedics. And because the distance between the two fire halls, they said, we got a cutter spreader, which is like for cutting car tractor trailer apart, it cut a railroad car apart, it could cut an airplane apart. But the distance between the two fire halls, they're saying you should have a combination tool. It's a suggestion, which does both. Is meant for cutting cars that are half tons apart or small light vehicles. They're saying those are suggestions to make sure we're covered all the way around with such a big area that we cover.
So these are features that are really safety for the personnel, right? Mostly, not just the victims, but the personnel that's trying to assist. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, would we have in our budget, currently in our budget, would we have sufficient funds to meet that requirement right now?
I would have to check the reserves. I honestly not sure what's in the equipment reserve at the moment, but I would have to check that. Like I said, if we ever decide to go ahead like that, there is stuff that's called demonstrator equipment, which is probably half the price sometimes. So if we ever decide to go that way, we can look at that option also. But at the moment, I'm not sure what the budget is. I'd have to check that and get back to you.
Okay, that would be something that I think would be welcomed by all. Because if, first of all, if we need to do it and we're not doing it, then we better do it, or certainly look into it, like and check on the reserves to see what we've got. And I don't want to think for a moment that we're subjecting our fire personnel to unnecessary risk involving this. If we provide the service, then we need to be prepared and equipped to do it. So if you could come back with another report as soon as possible, in the interest of safety, that would be much appreciated. Now, this is quite a long report, and you're dealing with many issues. And I still have some questions about the certification. And you mentioned here on the second page, where to meet the certification, the fire service shall have in place the following positions. Now, shall to me means that we will. Okay, it's not a matter of we want to, or is that your interpretation of that word, or is that?
No, it's exactly what it means. It means we will have those positions in place. Over the next few years,
so we might have those. And so as I go down the list, I see one of the first things you mentioned is a level 2 inspector, which can be contracted out, shared with another fire department. So that's something we need to do?
That's something we'll have to do over the next 3 years.
Okay, so there's a time limit on it.
There's a time limit. We got till 2026 to have this in place.
And what happens if we don't have?
The fire marshal hasn't told us that yet. They said you won't be able to do proper inspections because we're going to possibly have that propane plant. It's for liquid fuels storage depots. That's what the level 2 inspector is required for.
So is this a paid position, like fully paid hours?
It'd be whatever hours the person works. Like say, like you have the inspection on a propane plant, so it may take 2 or 3 hours. We'd have to pay that person whatever for that 2 or 3 hours, whatever time, like once a year, twice a year, whatever the inspection is required. So
okay, so I understand that. So fire prevention officer, which I think we have currently, do we not?
Yeah, we have somebody going lined up for that position to come up with bring it to the 2023 budget. We just didn't do it 2022 because of the COVID and everything else. We do have that already sort of set in place, so we're already good for that.
Right. I think we've done a very good job, I think, of prevention.
Oh, very good.
But is that, once again, would that be considered a paid part-time or full-time position?
It'd be a fill-in position, something like we did previously. We have a lot amount of money for a person to go to the schools if I'm not available or whatever to back me up. So it'd be like something like similar to the officers. There'd be an honorarium, a certain level of money paid for that person going to go out to do things with us.
Okay, so that we've already got something along that line. Now, below that, there's another one which I find quite interesting. What could you tell me about hiring or needing to hire a fire investigator? There's already a fire marshal's office, and would they be investigating only if it's arson or foul play?
Fire marshal only investigates if it's over $500,000 foul play or suspected arson or serious injury, which could lead to like an amputation or possibly death. That's why I think fire marshal come in here. What they're looking for is a fire investigator. We have a major structure fire to try and come determine cause. That falls under my umbrella at the moment. But they're looking to say you can either a fire chief or you can hire an outside or share like 2 or 3 fire departments go together, send a person on training, bring them if there is a major fire and it has to be investigated thoroughly. It's like any major structure fire. There's always an investigation. I do investigation currently under my the fire marshal, fire chief's umbrella. So they're just saying I can keep it that way, or you can take and have somebody else that says like any job can fall under all mine, or we can just contract, or like I said, you take away your firefighters and say at this time and date, you're going to send you on the training. If there's a major fire, we'll have to send them in with me to investigate.
So on your on your list of fire personnel right now, would you have someone else that would be qualified to do that particular fire job, that investigator?
At this point in time, no, I'm the only one.
To my thinking, it would require a lot of training. I'm losing you.
Councilor Proplinski, you hear me now?
Yeah, it's broken up, but it.
Okay. Right now, currently, if we were to send somebody for a fire investigator's course, it's a 1-week course at the fire college or one regional training centers. And then we'd have to have the person have to be able to investigate 2 fires within a year to get certified. The course is about $800 to send them for the week.
Okay, so we're looking at substantial increase in the budget here for the fire moving forward, and it's not anything that you can control, but it's trying to find out what we need to do and what we are doing, and what we shall do and what we may do. I think there's a lot of discussion need to be had, and I think there's a lot of concerns that I see right here, because we're talking about the fire investigator, and I've had quite a bit of extensive experience dealing with the fire marshal's office and in my previous experience in working. And these investigators go through not just months, but years of training. And many times they are a former police officer they've hired because of the investigative methods that they know how to use. But the fire investigator is a much more refined in terms of it's a matter of what you're saying, and the fire marshal's office provided this service until now. Obviously, recently they put it has to be a building of a certain size and so on. So basically, every home that we have in our community then would have to be, if there was a fire, any one of them would have to be investigated by our own personnel. Is that correct?
If it's a major structure fire, yeah. Currently, that's what I do. That's why I attend to all fires to check, see what's going on, see if it's suspicious or not. If we deem it is suspicious when our first initial investigation, that's when the fire marshal does a more in-depth investigation with the police. That turns into more of a criminal aspect or a investigation. So that's what I say, that's where the line gets drawn, is when I figure out if I deem it suspicious, then I got to back off, secure the scene, and leave it. And that's when they step in and take over the whole thing and do a real thorough investigation.
Thank you very much, Chief. I'm sure some of the other members of council will have some comments or questions. So I'm going to open up the floor for anyone that has any comments or questions, if you would be so kind as to help out. Thank you. So is there any member of council or member of staff that has any questions or comments?
I see Councillor Wilmer has his hand up.
Yeah, I don't see him, so thank you for mentioning it. Councillor Wilmer, would you like to proceed?
Thank you, Chair Poplinski. Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the core services expenditures. I agree. I think we should look to see if we can find them in the reserves, because these are definitely needed. They are safety issues for our volunteers, as well as the potential victims of that need to be extricated too. So I think they're very, very important. And I think if we don't have them, we should plan for them in next year's budget. And the other comment I'd like to make is that, yes, we are adding expenses here, and we have to look at that very closely. But then when you look at the volunteer versus composite versus career fire department costs, you have to realize what a great bargain we're getting from our volunteers by having a volunteer department versus a full-time department. And it's a tremendous saving to the community. So I think it's important that we equip them well, keep them up to date with training, and keep our positions filled with the right people. So that's my only comment. And I thank you, Chief, for bringing this report forward.
Thank you, Councillor Wilmer. Is there anyone else? Once again, I can't see Councillor Schulist. So I don't know whether
Treasurer has her hand up as well.
Oh, wonderful. Would you like to proceed, Amanda?
Thank you. So through you, Chair, I just wanted to address the financial aspect that you had some concerns about. So we do have 65,000 currently in the fire equipment reserve. Over the next 6 years, Chief Quad has identified $250,000 will be needed to replace SCBA and bunker suits. So that would require us to add to the reserves $185,000 within the next 5 to 6 years, which would look like currently we have been adding $15,000 in the reserves annually. So we would have to, it could move up and down, but we'd have to add approximately $30,000 every year. So that would be twice the amount that we currently put into reserves. So that's with the understanding that we would be spending $200,000 on SCBAs in 2026 and 2027. So, if there's movement on that or any potential for grants in the future, but we do have that 5-year window to increase our reserves for equipment. So if the $65,000 that's currently in there would help us to increase our equipment that's required for the safety of the officers attending, that there is that money in there. But again, there are some capital expenditures that will be looming in the next 5 to 6 years. So I hope that answers some of your questions there, Chair.
It certainly does, and I'm just wondering, does it also, would the amount of money required, the amount of wages and other benefits that may become part of it, is that included in those figures?
That is for top. That is for capital only.
Capital only,
not operating.
Okay. So there would be a significant operating change as well then. I think it's a fair statement if we were to implement the things that are being suggested. I think we need a lot more discussion, and I know the chief will be coming with another report, and the more information we get, the better. And I'm just wondering, are there any other comments from Councillor? Yes, Madam CAO.
I just wanted to add just an aside. So we are expecting to receive shortly the study from Watson and Associates on development charges for council consideration, if that's something that we will be proceeding with, which then if we were to proceed with development charges and there's a formula and there's a percentage of funds allocated towards such capital costs, anything that's pertaining to future growth. So just wanted to note that as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that information. Okay, if there's no further comments, I don't know about you. Well, I see you now, Councillor Bromwich. Was there? Did you have your hand up there? No. Okay. So we'll move on then to the Chief Quad. If you could speak to the breakdown of the fire calls and so on, and we'll move forward.
Okay, the fire calls are just sort of standard, the calls you see out there. Like I said, we've got 64 calls this year on average. The amount of fire calls we've had this year. We've had no major losses so far. Fortunately, we've got there fairly quickly. So I'm going to estimate we probably have about 80 calls by the time the year's end, which is an average year for the fire calls.
Okay, any comments from or questions from council? Once again, I can only see Councillor Wilmer, so you'd have to comment.
No one else has their hand up.
Okay. Okay. You. Very good. Good job, Chief. If you could now proceed with the. So that's the extent of then the fire calls. Okay. Okay. Well, let's move ahead then. On the agenda is 7.12. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm looking at the wrong page here. Where we go here? I'm looking at the 9.12 rather. And it's if you could speak to that report.
Okay, that would all we got here is the breakdown with sort of compliance officer Terry has been doing. We're up to 168 tags or calls for service for trailers, decks, bunkies, and trailers, legal fire pits sort of thing. So we got about 50% compliance. He's doing a good job. A lot of people are getting back to him working. He's got a lot of follow-up to do because some of the things are a little bigger issues than others, but other than that, it's going pretty good. He's definitely earned his keep here and being a great assistance to the municipality.
Are there any comments from other members of council? Questions? I don't see any. Oh, yes, Madam CAO.
As there's no questions, I just wanted again to add a comment. This is a report that comes directly from the CGIS module,
Okay.
similar to what the water and wastewater module is, allowing staff gaining great efficiency. We don't have to track an Excel sheet anymore. It's directly onto that parcel and able to track the history. So this will be an ongoing report that council will be able to get, saving staff time from having to generate an Excel sheet.
So if I may, Madam CAO, so I take it that at the end of the month or at the end of the year, we could sit down and take that and isolate certain issues of that report because we're dealing with decks, bunkies, gazebos, sea containers. So we could technically sit down and figure out the stats and so on and the actions taken and so on, moving forward, if we're looking at developing new regulations or bylaws, whatever, would be very helpful. No, I can see the benefit of this program. I think it would be fantastic. So most of these situations would be driven by complaints from the community. These here. Okay, so and when you say, and I know the staff have mentioned formal complaints, so would this be only considered formal complaints, or how do most of these, yes, please continue.
Corey may want to speak to that, but it's my understanding that if it's either formal and or when we go to a formal complaint, we receive a different complaint about infractions adjacent to those properties. Wanted to remind council that if you recall, when staff brought a report forward about Airbnbs, we stated that we would compile a reporting structure that would allow us to see where the issues are. And this breaks down all of those complaints as it pertains to if it's strictly coming out of an Airbnb, if it's noise, if it's fire, if it's animal, if it's bunkie, if it's building related. So to your previous comment, yes, this will allow us to break down and isolate all of those areas so that we can then assess where the greater need of staff resources are.
Okay, so on this particular report, I don't see any, I may have missed it. I don't see any reference to the Airbnbs.
We've Councilor Polinski, there's yes, I don't see it under. One is a fire pit complaint. I guess it should say Airbnb beside there, the line 160. And there's one other, I'm not sure, maybe you got missed being put on there. We've only had 2 Airbnb complaints so far this year. One's a fire complaint. The fire pit's too close to the property line. And I've had one other one.
You're breaking up.
I'll start over. We've only had 2 Airbnb complaints so far, Councilor Polinski. One was a fire pit, which is line 160. And the other, I think, I must have missed putting it on there, but it was a bunkie that's being used on an Airbnb that's too close to the water. That's been rectified. So that's the only 2 complaints we've had at Airbnb so far this year.
Okay, so they're in this report. It's just not, it doesn't say Airbnb. Okay,
no, I guess
but at the end of the year, because we are contemplating looking at this in the new year, so we can go to these reports then and be able to isolate those situations. It's really my concern. Okay.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there any other questions by any members of council or staff? And I don't see any hands. Once again, I only see Councillor Wilmer. So if there are, please speak up.
There are no other hands, Councillor Polinski.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well that looks like the extent. Other than we have a recommendation that the fire department activities report be received as information. And of course, recommendation that the bylaw activity report be received as information as well. Now, I don't believe we need a motion on that. Okay, well, I'm going to thank you for your patience, and thank you again, Chief, for being here and enlightening us on the important work that you do, and staff, the rest of staff. And 9.2, there's no correspondence, I understand. And is there anything under unfinished business, Madam CAO? Don't see anything.
No,
So
there's not.
I will hand the gavel back to Councillor Bromwich. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Poplinski. At this point in time, I'd like to Councillor Wilmer to take the chair for his recreation report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Bromwich. Okay, we have a number. Is Hannah here? Yes, there's Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Hello.
We start with 3 requests or donations. So I'll turn the first one. The first one is from the Madawaska Valley Lions Club, and I'll let Hannah speak to this.
Sure. So the Madawaska Valley Lions Club is hoping to use the intersection, the 3-way stop at Highway 60 and 62 on the 8th of October. They'd like to use it to take donations. So they've sought approval from the County of Renfrew. They've received conditional approval as long as they do fulfill all the requirements, such as having signage, being clearly identified in uniform. Sorry, I'm working from home. So that's they are willing to fulfill all those requests. So they're just looking for approval from council and the mayor.
All right. Does anyone have any comments or any questions on this request? I'm not seeing any, but I don't see Councillor Poplinski. If there are no comments, could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Are there any other comments or further discussion? If not, could I see all those in favor? That's carried.
Councillor Wilmer, can I read the resolution?
Oh, sorry. Yes, sure.
Thank you. That council approved the request from the Madawaska Valley Lions Club to have volunteers at the intersection of Highway 62 and 60 in Barry's Bay to collect donations at a charitable road toll on October 8, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., conditional on fulfilling the County of Renfrew conditions.
Okay, thank you. And we did have mover and seconder on that, and we did vote in favor. So
thank you.
I don't need any further discussion. All right, the second one also has a recommendation, and it's a donation request, which is basically closing the I think it's Kelly Street and over to the water tower. I'll let Hannah talk about this one.
Yeah, so staff was contacted by the Women's Sexual Assault Center of Renfrew County. They're interested in doing a Take Back the Night event in Barry's Bay. This would take place after the unveiling of the Pebble Mosaic at Water Tower Park on September 22nd. And a group will march from the park across Opeongo Square by Kelly Street to Drohan and Kelly Street. So they are just looking for council support, as well as it may require a temporary road closure just in the name of safety. So.
All right, are there any discussion on this? If not, I'll have CAO read the recommendation.
That council approves the request from the Women's Sexual Assault Center of Renfrew County to hold a Take Back the Night event on the evening of September 22nd, 2022, resulting in a short road closure. And that council approves a road closure bylaw. It will be later on in your package as 2022-75.
Okay, could I get a mover on this? Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? And that's carried. right, this next one, and I apologize, I'm going to have to, my topsoil is just arriving right now, as you can probably hear. I'd sort of like to be involved in this discussion, but I'm not quite sure what to do at this moment. Because I do have to go meet with them.
Councillor Wilmer, if it's okay with the chair, I can walk through the report.
Oh, okay, that would be great, and I'll rejoin you as soon as possible.
Okay, I'll let Hannah go through her report, and I wanted to include that after the printing of the agenda, there were 2 letters that were received, one from the president of the Barry's Bay Minor Hockey and one from the treasurer, Mark Leclerc, which council has received. We will attach them as an addendum. The summary of the request is to reconsider the recommendation where it states that we offer the fundraising rate to use the upstairs lounge on tournament days, and as was in the past, offer it at no cost. And I'll let Hannah speak to that.
For sure. So I had a donation request from Barry's Bay Area Minor Hockey Association for no cost rental at the Paul J. Akabuski Community Center monthly for their meetings for their registration tomorrow, the 7th of September, as well as on tournament days on Saturdays and Sundays throughout the 2022-23 season. They'd like to use the upstairs lounge at no cost. There's a total of 8 tournament days. Yeah, and so my initial recommendation was to approve the no cost for the meeting room and to offer the fundraising rate of the lounge. My initial concerns were the lack of supervision upstairs and reported incidents in the past, as well as the impact this might have on staff time for cleaning and preparation for the lounge of our regular Sunday morning rental. Staff has had conversation with members of the executive and are confident in the information that was given to address these concerns and are now comfortable offering the lounge at no cost alongside the other rooms to this user group. If there's any questions or anything I can.
If there's no further questions, I can read the recommendation. That council approve the use of the meeting room at no cost for monthly meetings, approve the use of the meeting room at no cost for tournament days, and offer the use of the upstairs lounge on tournament days when available to the Barry's Bay and Area Minor Hockey Association at no cost. Mover, Councillor Bromwich, Councillor Poplinski. All in favor?
Whoa. Could I just mention?
Oh,
could I
yes.
ask one question here? Wasn't there something mentioned about the canteen, waive the fee for the rental of the canteen, Anna?
So they have requested the canteen in the past. I haven't had a formal request for the canteen for tournament days yet. I know it's a discussion of what will we do with the canteen for this season. We've had conversations if we're able to find kind of a core group to run it, or if kind of between a couple of volunteer groups, including minor hockey, they'd like to run it, or if they'll just take another tournament days. It's a bit up in the air right now, but that is something that they've mentioned that they've had in the past and they may want again this year, but I haven't had a definitive answer.
Thanks very much, Hannah.
And to add to that, I wanted to confirm that there has been no RFP for the canteen done this year until the user groups, have that discussion.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So all in favor on that? Okay, thank you, carried. The next report is the September recreation update. Hannah, if you wanted to walk council through that, page 69.
For sure. So I just have a handful of things to go over, just a wrap up of the summer kind of. The swim program wrapped up on August 12th. We also did a bronze program this year. We had over 170 kids participate in lessons from Barry's Bay and Cover Bear, which is huge. So we're super excited about that. No incidents reported, tons of compliments from staff, from parents to staff regarding our team of 4 instructors who were all fantastic. And we had an end of the summer barbecue, which was well attended. We did a survey as well just to get any feedback on the program so we can keep going and be better next year. I have a collection of project updates here as well about the Pebble Mosaic, the ice pad, the siding. Everything is kind of going along as intended. One note on the siding, just that I'll mention, is because of the construction, we will, and as well as staffing constraints, we will be closing the center. It won't be open on weekends during September as it has been in the past. The contractor has mentioned they have to take off the front porch. They want to seal it all in with the fence and get their work done, so we're going to let them do that. Otherwise, everything's going smoothly. And then I did hear from the Cover Bear Rec Committee, just a thank you to council for the township support on their event. They had over 850 people throughout the day, over 350 in the evening, and they were able to donate some of their profits to the Madawaska Valley Fire Department South Hall, and thanks for the support on their event. So.
Thank you very much, Hannah, and I apologize for missing the discussion on minor hockey, but I'll find out what happened after. So we'll move on, and on your report, we just are accepting it as information. We do have 2 letters. Did we discuss that, Sue?
Yes, we did. And they will be attached as an addendum to the agenda.
Okay, perfect. And so we have no additional correspondence or information and no unfinished business. So that completes the recreation portion of the meeting, and I'll hand the chair back over to Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you. Just one quick question here, Anna. Is there any delivery time on the digital sign? Any delivery date on digital sign that's being installed?
Not yet. So I am looking to get a schedule. We were waiting to see when, so we got surveys done of the property to ensure we put it in the right spot. So that's done. So I'm able to say definitively where it could go to the contractors. So they'll be able to provide me with a schedule, which I could provide at my October update or next week even, or sorry, in 2 weeks, hopefully. So I can do that.
Cool. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mark, very much. In the absence of the mayor, I'll take the chair for the planning portion of the meeting. And I will ask the manager of planning and development to walk us through this portion of the meeting. And there's Luke now. Thank you. Hi, Luke.
Thank you. Just bear with me while I learn everybody's procedures for those meetings. But my first report is just a recommendation for the approval of a drainage easement, which within the first phase of the Lakewoods subdivision, Lot 3.
I could read the recommendation if there are no questions on that report.
You wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Sure.
That council approves the manager of planning and development's recommendation to support bylaw 2022-78 to enter into a municipal drainage easement agreement designated as parts 1 and 2 on reference plan 49R20138 located in lot 3 in registered plan 49M-84.
Also move. You're muted, Sue.
I saw Councillor Wilmer's hand.
No, I just moved that recommendation. I think Councillor Wilmer seconded it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Did you want to call the question, Chair?
Please, if you wouldn't mind.
All in favor?
I forget who the chair is anymore. I think it's Luke, and then it's me, and it could be you sometimes.
Yes, you are the chair for this one.
I'm so confused.
Oh, musical chairs.
Yes.
Thank
you, Chair.
Thank you. Second item here, 11.1. 11.1, second one, yeah. And maybe you could, planning and development overview, if you could get into that for us.
Sure, thank you. If council recalled, my first technical day with the township was our last council meeting. So I think at that time I mostly just said hi to council, and that was my introduction. But now it's been about a month on since I've been with the organization. So I would like to thank everybody once again for the opportunity to be part of the Madawaska Valley team. I'm really continue to be excited with this opportunity. And I'd also thought in my report too, it'd be important and it'd be missed to not recognize Mr. Silas Lorbetsky for his work with the township and his many years of dedication, which I can see in the files that continue on. Some of the things in this report are just short, but it's just an overview from my perspective of what I've seen with working together with building staff, working together with bylaw enforcement, and just the nature of some of the activities that are happening. Building permits are increasing, which is very positive, and should continue as new developments come online. I wanted to give a sense to council that where time is being dedicated to, generally speaking, and general property inquiries are always an ongoing source of discussion and activity for staff. Working with bylaw enforcement, and we just went over that with Mr. Quaid, and it was spoken to in the CGIS system, how it tracks the nature of the bylaw calls. But the reason I put this in where I hope to be of assistance is to update some bylaws for the municipality to clean them up and to help with the enforcement capabilities, whether it's through some different methods or implementing maybe some schedule of set fines for things like littering. And so we'll bring forward bylaws in time, one at a time for hopefully some bylaw enforcement efficiency improvements. And then last but not least, in my overview report, I've just listed some planning activities that are ongoing, which includes working with developers and developments, working with the county staff on changes in legislation, which is ongoing, and other activities listed below. So I've learned lots in the last month, and I hope to continue to be submersed in projects as I continue to get connected with folks within the community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Very, very good. Yeah, we've enjoyed having you with us the last little while. We've been able to connect quite easily, actually. It's been working out pretty nicely.
Yes, and I forgot to add, I've had an opportunity to meet with councillors. Mr. Schulis, you were away for a period, and we missed that opportunity when you were absent. But otherwise, I was able to connect with each of the councillors.
It was a pleasure meeting you, sir.
Yes, it was.
Okay, we also thank you very much, Luke. I think we'll accept that as information, and we move along to correspondence and information. We have a letter from Affordable Housing Alliance of Ottawa. And we also, I think everybody's probably gone over that. We also have a letter from the Ministry of Infrastructure about accelerated high-speed internet program. Is there any comments from council on either of those two items? Or we just accept them as information to you, Sue?
You can accept them as information, but I'd like to bring you back to 11.2.1. It's a letter that was forwarded to the mayor as well as to all mayors in Renfrew County, just advising that there's a community group that has gathered wanting to keep the forefront attention to the increased need for housing throughout the municipalities. All throughout Renfrew County, and they're advising you that they are scheduling throughout Renfrew County some town hall meetings. One of the members of the committee has reached out to the Legion in Barry's Bay to see if such a town hall meeting can be scheduled in Barry's Bay as well. I'm listed as a committee member on this steering committee only because at the time that we initiated, they had their first meeting. We wanted to ensure that Madawaska Valley was part of, wanted to be noted that we too recognize the need and the issues. So from this point forward, Hannah, the Recreation Community Development Coordinator would be the contact person that would be sitting in on this committee. But I wanted to highlight that there will be one organized, a town hall meeting organized in Barry's Bay. And should you miss it, that there will be others organized in Eganville and some other areas like Pembroke. Thank you.
For sure. A lot of concern there from everybody. Thank you, Sue. It's happening, I guess. We're gonna have to address it, but we all have our own ideas on this, and it's gonna be a major election issue, I believe, out in the street. So, Sue, thank you. Any comments from council? Councilor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think this is not only is it timely, it's really overdue. And I know we're all concerned about the housing. We all have heard the horror stories of people not being able to find housing. And it's something that I'm sure we're all concerned with. And everyone that's running for the new council should be concerned about it. I would like to see a bigger initiative taken by our council at this time, and in whatever form that can take. But I think we should be forefront in pushing for this, and more little pressure on the other levels of the county and provincial and perhaps federal government. But we need to be doing something now. People are desperate, and we're going to have 10 cities here if we don't get moving on this. So this is a good initiative. I want to be I congratulate the ones that are spending the time on this, but I think it has to be a much bigger effort. That's my opinion. So I'd like to hear other comments.
To you, Councillor Wilmer. Councillor Wilmer. No, you're
Thanks,
okay.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a very, very important first step, and I think it's very important that we be part of this or participate in the Affordable Housing Alliance. I think it's a great first step, but again, I think we, as Councillor Poplinski said, we do have to do more, and I think we have to work with the county to strengthen the input we can get from other levels of government, because this is a nationwide problem. It's not just here, but being a small community, we run into issues where it's sad to see elderly people having to downsize and not being able to find a place to stay in Madawaska Valley. And it's the same with attracting young families here. There are people who would come if there were suitable small first houses available on the market. So this is a serious problem, and I'm really happy to see the alliance, and I think we need to make sure that we are represented strongly on that alliance. So if Hannah's going to be our representative, that's great. Thank you.
Again, to you, Councillor Schulis.
Yeah, to you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I totally agree with Councillor Poplinski and Councillor Wilmer on this here. Great first step. Let's just keep moving forward this, because there's such a need. Absolutely, not just attracting people to come here and for them to live here, but there's even people within our community that are leaving here because there isn't the next step from a larger home to a smaller affordable housing and so on. So there's definitely that demand. Let's be proactive on this. Let's support anything that comes down from the Alliance. Thank you very much.
Any further questions or comments? We'll just take this as information. This high-speed internet program and letter I've got here from the Ontario government. Has anybody got any comments on that, or we just accept as information?
Through the chair.
I guess you're just trying to update us on the broadband situation. You, Sue.
I just wanted to note that in the Manager of Planning's report, he does reference that there is oversight, and he has attended some of the most recent webinars on this matter as well. So we are keeping an eye on that.
Thank you. Proactive on that. Is there any other questions or comments about this? So there's no outstanding matters, I believe. So In the absence of the mayor, I'll take the
Counselor,
to the meeting and ask the treasurer to walk us.
sorry,
through.
Chair, Counselor
Oh.
Poplinski has his hand up.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Ernie. Carry on, sir.
It's okay. Yeah, you're also breaking up, Mr. Chair, your
frozen.
message, but if I've got the floor, just.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Do I
sir.
have the floor? Okay, thank you. No,
Thank
I
you.
think the high speed is just as housing is a priority. I think moving forward for any council, I think the high speed is another one. It's not just the working from home, but learning from home, what we've had to do in the last 3 years. And I think we just need to put as much pressure as possible to see that we have a proper services throughout the entire municipality. And so thank you for, I would like to see us support this initiative in a big way. Thank you.
Anyway, I'll repeat this again if I still can. In the absence of the mayor, I will take the chair for the finance and administration portion. Whoops. In the absence of the mayor, I will take the chair for the finance and administration portion of the meeting and ask the treasurer through this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so I will.
Department
Great. So if I could just direct everyone to the report, and I'll just go through it one by one. There are 6 topics on there, just a sort of an update on some things that have been coming through. So I've attached the revenues and expenses up to August 31st, 2022 for committee review of all departments' expenditures. Copies have been circulated to the departments for their review. So if anyone has questions on specific line items, I can certainly look into that and provide you some answers or feedback at a later time if I don't have the answers at the moment. So I will ask committee members if there are any questions on the revenues versus expenses report.
Councillor Poplinski has his hand up.
Thank you. My question, Amanda, it's not a question. I understand but I think for the benefit of everybody, that not just council, but others out there, to explain under revenues, there's so many minuses. And I understand it's your software and why, but I understand that, but I don't think, because I've had somebody else on another occasion ask me that out in the community, and I explained it. But if you could do so for everybody would understand.
So revenues report as a negative, as with the minus in front of it, and then expenditures report as a positive. So anything in the above section under the heading revenues, you want to see that minus in front of it, because that means that we are gaining revenues or we're accumulating revenues.
Okay, so that is a very good explanation.
Okay.
You, Sue?
Yeah, I just wanted to note that Amanda did clarify for me under revenues 661040. There, like, it was a large amount, and one of them is it was previously reported to council about the WSIB revenue that will be reapportioned.
Yes, that's we received a $20,000 rebate for the WSIB fund had extra income, and so they decided to sort of pay out all of the municipalities all this extra income based on our costs formula and sort of incidents or accidents that have occurred. So our portion was $20,000. So there was a report previously, and we have taken the money and it will be put into a reserve for future employee benefits for expenses. And that was approved by council. So it's in there to acknowledge the revenue, but then it will go straight into reserves. So that
Thank
line
you.
is quite high.
Thank you, Amanda.
So if there are no questions on, if there's no questions on the revenues and expenses, Chair, may I move on?
I think he's froze right now, so you can proceed to item 2.
Okay, so I'll proceed. Okay, so within the bylaw section, further down below, you will see the ISIP fund, which is the green stream, and we were successful in obtaining funding for the rehabilitation of the water treatment plant and the water tower. Those were capital expenditures that we were going to have to realize eventually. So this is a good thing that that the federal and provincial governments have recognized and will be providing us with money to offset these costs. For the whole project, the municipality will be responsible for almost $75,000 based on what was applied for. And of course, these are not tax dollars. These are dollars that come from the users of the water and wastewater treatment systems. However, I was notified by Mr. Pilgrim from Ontario Clean Water Agency that inflationary costs have added substantially to some of the project work that may be coming, such as the roof replacement. And so we may be on the hook for extra inflationary expenses, which will significantly affect the project costs. Now, I'm sure there are other municipalities that will be experiencing these costs as well, because we applied for the funding in 2021. And as we all know, inflation has gone through the roof over the past year. So we will be trying any means necessary to get in front of the ministry to ask them to recognize these extra costs and maybe help us out with topping up those funds if it's possible within that green stream. So that's something that we have to look forward to. So it's a good news, bad news sort of situation, but hopefully the government will recognize the difficulty that municipalities are in with some of these applications. So I'll move on to number 3, 2021 financial audit. So the audit is behind schedule, but it is scheduled for this September with a goal of reporting for the end of October. And then the 2022 financial audit is right on track and it has been scheduled for the second week of December and the second week of March. So there's always 2 parts to it. There's the first part in the current year, and then the second part is in the future year to end it off and tie everything together. So a little bit delayed this year, but we'll be back on track by December. If there's any questions, sorry, on the last 2, the ISIP fund or on the financial audit, I apologize, I forgot to ask. No questions? Okay, so I'll move on. This year, the Municipal Finance Officers Association annual conference is taking place in 2 weeks. So myself and the payroll and administrative support clerk will be attending. And this is where we plan to get in front of the ministry representatives for Ministry of Infrastructure and Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. There's always a question and answer portion and an updates portion where all the treasurers sit in a room. They tell us what may be coming down the line, and we're allowed to ask them any questions or express concerns for the municipality. So we will definitely be bringing the ISIP fund Green Stream project costs up to them. And I'm sure all the other treasurers will be addressing those concerns as well there. We do have a tax arrears update. There is an attachment from the Deputy Treasurer. So prior to the production of the final property tax billing, property tax arrears report at 500,000 to 63.48, not including penalty or the interim, which is the current tax billing. So comparing this amount of tax arrears to the value held in the working fund reserve, which is at $1.1 million. And that reserve is set up to cover the current year's cash flow. The municipality is in a good financial position to ensure proper cash flow for capital and operating expenses. Staff will continue to work on collection practices for arrears. And you can just see the Deputy Treasurer's General Ledger Summary, and she just sort of broke it down with her comments there. Are there any questions from council members? No questions? Okay. And then finally,
what
I'm
great
sorry.
job has been done for that. Sorry, I just want to say thank you very much for all the work you guys have been doing. You've reduced our tax arrears down considerably. Hard work. Thank you. To you, Ernie. You're muted, Ernie.
Yeah, actually, no question, just a comment. Good job, Amanda. I think you're on top of it, along with the staff. I think it's just a job well done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, I have done a capital projects report, which is attached. So within your revenues and expenses report, there's always those two lines, this ending in 799,996, and then which is identified usually as other or equipment purchases, and then also 799,998, which is capital. So you will see what was budgeted for the year, and then what has been spent to date. So I would encourage department heads to please make sure that these projects do get completed within the current fiscal year. I know a lot of some of the projects had to be delayed. I know a lot of the public works projects are starting now and will be finished by the end of the year, just because of the timing and for the contractors. Some of the projects look a little bit higher than budgeted, but then they will be offset by lower projects also within those numbers. So does council have any questions about this capital projects report?
Well on its way to being, that's a nice read actually, Amanda. There's a lot of action going. The Sand Dome project is, I guess they're almost finished site preparation for that, from what I understand. And yeah, lots of good things going to be happening in over the next little while. The boys have been working hard on it. So thank you for the report. Got any questions on this report? I don't see anybody.
Certainly, there's a lot of projects.
Amanda.
Yep. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very, very much. Okay, correspondence and information, none, no unfinished. And that completes our council and committee portion of the meeting, and we go into the regular council portion of the agenda. And the first item is confirmation of the minutes, of adjustment minutes. Would you read that recommendation out, Madam CIO?
That the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes for August 16, 2022 be approved as presented.
I require a movement and a seconder. Somebody move it. Councilor Kuklinski, seconded by Councilor Lewis. Any questions and any changes, any omissions or errors on the minutes? I see none. All in favor? All in favor? And that is approved. Thank you very much. Regular council meeting minutes of August 16th, 2022, which you have a copy of. And wonder if you'd read that recommendation for me, Stu, please. You wouldn't mind.
That the regular council meeting minutes for August 16, 2022 be approved as presented.
And need a mover and a seconder, please. And mover by Mark Wilmer, seconded by And I don't see anybody. Oh, Councilor Kaplinski. Is there any errors and omissions on the minutes? Or is there any questions from council on the minutes? I see none. All in favor? All in favor, and that is approved. Thank you very much. Okay, just give me a second here. Okay. In the bylaws now, here we go. Bylaw 2022-74 reference joint municipal physician recruitment and retention committee. And I'm going to ask the CEO to read the recommendation if you wouldn't mind. Yeah.
That bylaw 2022-74 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the CAO clerk of the Township of Madawaska Valley to execute a bylaw dissolving the Joint Municipal Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee and all associated agreements to this committee and program with and between the Township of Brudenell, Lindock, and Raglan, the Township of Killu, Haggerty, and Richards, North Algona, Wilberforce Township, Township of South Algonquin, and the Township of Madawaska Valley be given first and second reading this 6th day of September 2022.
And please.
I think
Can I
you
have a
froze
mover
up.
and
You're
seconder,
seeking
please?
a mover and a seconder?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Moved by Bernie Kaplinski, seconded by Councilor. Did you get that, Sue?
I got Councillor Poplinski and Councillor Wilmer.
Councilor Kaplinski. Schulis was seconded.
Okay, Schulist, so amended.
Schulis seconded it.
Okay,
All in favor? Okay, all in favor? And that is carried. Read this, could you read the third reading on that, if you wouldn't mind, CAO?
yes, I may. That the bylaw
Recommendation.
2022-74 be given third and final reading this 6th day of September 2022.
Mover. Councilor Wilmer, seconded by Councilor Kaplinski. All in favor? All in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. It's pretty choppy, eh, Sue? Like, am I
Yes.
freezing up badly here? Do you think?
You're freezing up, but
need hot-
it's going fine.
Okay, guys. Bylaw 2022-75. Take back the night street road closure. I need a mover and seconder. Would you read the recommendation, please, Sue?
Being a bylaw to close to vehicular traffic on a temporary basis, highway, streets, or portions thereof, under the jurisdiction of council for such social, recreational, community, or athletic purpose, or combination of such purposes, be given first and second reading the 6th day of September 2022.
Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Mark Wilmer, seconded by Councilor Schulis. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Would you read the second recommendation for the third reading, please?
That bylaw 2022-75 be given third and final reading this 6th day of September 2022.
And mover? I have a mover, and that's Councilor Kaplinski. Could I have a seconder, please? Councilor Wilmer. All in favor?
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Certainly. To you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, could you, do you know if the OPP were notified about assistance that might be required?
If I may, through the chair, they get notified and sent a copy of the bylaw once
Okay.
approved by council.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Did I get third and final reading on that? No.
Yes, you did.
I'm so confused. Bylaw 2022-76, appointment of Joint Compliance Audit Committee. And could you read the recommendation, please?
Bylaw 2022-76 being a bylaw to appoint a compliance audit committee and to adopt the terms of reference of the Joint Compliance Audit Committee be given first and second reading this 6th day of September 2022.
Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Schulz, seconded by Councillor Mark. All those in favor? And that's carried. Now, would you read the next portion of it, please, Sue?
Yes, that bylaw 2022-76 be given third and final reading this 6th day of September 2022.
A mover, please. Could I have a mover? Could I have a mover, please? And Mark Wilmer moves. Second. Could I have a second? Anybody want to second that?
I'm
Okay,
moving,
sure.
but
Ernie
I'm obviously you
Poplinski,
can't see me.
I've got Mark Wilmer as mover and Councillor Poplinski as seconder. I would like to call the vote, please. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Sue. This is brutal. Bylaw 2022-77.
That
Please
bylaw
read the
2022, oh, apologies. That bylaw 2022-77 being a bylaw to authorize the entering into and the execution of an agreement between Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure and the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley, investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP, Green Stream Stage 2, be given and first and second reading this 6th day of September 2022.
Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulz, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.
That bylaw 2022-77 be given third and final reading this 6th day of September 2022.
And could I have a mover, please? Councillor Wilmer, seconded by all those in favor. All those in favor, and that is carried. Thank you. One more here. Bylaw 2022-78. Approval of acquisition of an easement for the purpose of stormwater management and drainage. And to you, Sue, would you read it, please?
Being a bylaw to approve the acquisition of an easement for the purposes of stormwater management and drainage be given first and second reading this 6th day of September 2022.
Mover, please. Could I have a mover, please? And to Councillor Poplinski. Second, Councillor Schulz. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And would you finally read the following?
That bylaw 2022-78 be given third and final reading the 6th day of September 2022.
Have a mover, please. Councillor Schulz, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. That ends the bylaws. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my video here and just talk. That might help a little bit, Sue. Okay. I'll see how this works. I need a mover and seconder to go into closed. And I'll let you put the time in here, Sue, if you wouldn't mind, because our clocks are a little bit off. And I'm going to ask the CEO to read the recommendation before I ask for a mover and seconder. So would you read that for us, please?
That the meeting enter into in-camera session to discuss matters pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And section F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Okay. It froze freezing up here.
We can hear you.
including municipal, or isn't there more to it than that? No?
No, those, the other sections, there had been some other subject matters that were
okay.
removed from the agenda.
Okay, fine. Could I have a mover, please? That's Councilor Poplinski, seconded by Councilor Schuist, and all in favor? We are now in close. Thank you very much. Where do we go from here, Sue?
I'm just waiting. It's still saying live YouTube.
Okay. Wondering, could we take a 5-minute get this together? Do you think?
Yeah, as soon as we go into closed, we can ask
Anybody
for
want
a
to go for a little
recess.
bit of a